Hi everyone, thanks for joining to this exciting session. I hope you are watching us healthy and safe. This is Tarlana with you, the event director of the WorldNet Summit, and hope you enjoyed our different panels so far. And now, welcome to our next panel that brought together great experts from the biggest fintech companies of the world. It's going to be very pleasing hearing your insights on a topic that is covering digital payment and its future. So first, let me give an introduction to our audience about the panelists. I'd like to start with Fabrizio Burlando, who is the Executive Vice President at MasterCard and who leads the company professional services globally, complementing MasterCard core product for financial institutions, retailers, and governments. Hi, Fabrizio.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Tala.
Yeah. And Manazi Balero, who is Digital Payment Advisor and Director Product Development at American Express, and she accomplished digital product executive with extensive international experience delivering strategic financial product launches such as SME lending cards, platinum cards, airline co-branded cards, etc. Hi, Manazi.
Hi, Tarlana. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here.
Yeah. And Mauro Mesiano, who is investment banker, who is first investment banker at Pan-European Bank and winner of Excellence Leader in Finance Tech 2019 at FinTech Singapore. Hi, Mauro.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you.
Yeah, so we have all Italians today. And so I would first like to ask a very general question about, before going into the core topic. And I would like to start with Mauro, like to tell about e-payment system generally. So the question is, what is an e-payment system?
So thank you for the question, Tarlana. The electronic payment system has grown increasingly over the last decades due to the growing spread of internet-based banking and shopping. As the world advances more with technologies and development, we can see the rise of electronic payment system and payment processing devices. As these increase, improve, and provide even more secure online payment transactions, the percentage of check and cash transaction will decrease. So one of the most popular payment forms online are credit and debit cards. Beside them, there are also alternative payment methods, such as bank transfers, electronic wallets, smart cards, or Bitcoin wallet. Bitcoin is the most popular cryptocurrency. A payment method could be classified into two areas, so credit payment systems and cash payment system. The first is a form of the e-payment system, which requires the use of credit card issued by a financial institute to the cardholder for making payments online or through an electronic device without the use of cash. The second, e-wallet, a form of prepaid account that store users' financial data like debit and credit card information to make an online transaction easier. And the smart card, a plastic card with a microprocessor that became loaded with funds to make transaction, also known as a chip card.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mauro.
This is the first difference of the e-payment system and what to say.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'd like to move on to one thing that is like nowadays we all observe that the world has changed and the world is not the same way that it used to be before. The things have changed, the things have transformed, no industry and no country has been spared, and most importantly, this has led to the dramatic change and the shift in customer and consumer behavior as well. So therefore, I would like to ask questions that you have probably been asked very frequently these days. So I'd like to start with Manazi, like what opportunities or changes do you think the pandemic has caused in payments and its systems?
Sure, thank you. So yes, we've all experienced this, haven't we? As Mauro said, there's been a move away from cash and check. We're using our cards more. There's more contactless, there's more mobile payments. Our shopping habits have changed, right? We've all been trying to shop online, and even what we call the non-digitally savvy segments, have taken to online shopping. So there's basically been a change in customer behavior. In the UK, there's been a rise in the contactless limits. You can pay up to £45 just by contactless. So all this basically has come together to drive an overall uplift. And we've all heard that, companies are accelerating their digital revolution, their digital plans. What's interesting for me to see in the future is, and let's hope this pandemic ends as quickly as possible, how long do these digital habits stick? Will we go back to old behavior, or have we fundamentally changed? And I hope it's the latter. The second sector, which is quite interesting for me, is, medtech and insurtech are two opportunities where there hasn't been that much digital interaction. But with the pandemic, people have got used to interacting with their doctors and their nurses online. So these are two opportunities in general for digital. And for payments, I think what is going to happen is, as Mauro also mentioned, we are going to keep moving away from cash and check. And the move to mobile, the move to contactless will only increase.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And I'd like to move on with Fabrizio. So Fabrizio, in this digital era, there are many opportunities to connect digitally through video calls, cloud software, and digital payments. But of course, we have the threats too, that is cyber risk, which could be the solutions put on field by MasterCard to fight the cyber fraud. So what would you like to say about this?
Absolutely. So it's what Manasi and Mauro said. It's absolutely true. We see a huge shift in digital. I've seen my mother also. She's 82. She never wanted to use a card. Been in the industry for 15 years. I've been trying to convince her. She always said no. But now she sees the benefits, right? She sees that she can order online grocery, and she has started with a bit of help. She's even watching Netflix movies, and she loves it. So to one of the questions that was asked by Manasi, I think many of the people who have never tried cards or digital payments have started and will stay. So grocery and banking are two areas that we have some data. 75% of all access to banking was through digital channel, and 50% of the people were new users. Same for grocery. 60% of purchase was digital in the 2 months of lockdown. So this poses, as you said, the question of how to protect some of the users, especially maybe the less savvy users. So it's a very good question. So in the past, the answer was let's be very strict with access and security, and if banks are not sure, let's close it down. Well, that's not really an answer anymore. There's statistics that said that the revenue lost in false negative, as we call them, is 10 times the revenue lost by fraud. So it's 80 billion versus 8 billion. So luckily, technology is helping us with a number of areas. So I'll just mention three and try to make it simple. They are actually simple technologies, complex underneath, but makes life simple. First one is tokenization. It's a difficult word, but basically means that the numbers in your card actually become a token, so another number. So only the credit card company and the merchant can reconcile the two. So if there's a fraudster that steals your numbers, they can do nothing with that because the two keys need to interact. So all the stealing of credit card numbers, it's something of the past, because with this new technology, there won't be any harm that can be done. The second one is artificial intelligence. Again, sounds very complicated, but basically it's a way of ensuring that the more transactions we see, the more we understand which ones can be fraudulent transactions with sophisticated algorithm. And the third one, which I particularly like, we just invested in a company that uses artificial intelligence to learn about your behavior. So if you're paying online with your phone, it learns the way you pay. If you're very quick, you use your thumbs in different way. Apparently, each of us have a different way of using their thumbs on the mobile phone, and after you do it for 3-4 weeks, there's like a 95% chances that if somebody does it instead of you, the software can block it. So there's a number of things that will move ideally payments from cash to card securely, and I believe it will also move from card to completely digital payment. As Mauro said, card is only the first step towards digitization. And I always like to talk about the CD. I'm sure some of you still remember CD players, right? We all had CD players, which was it's actually a digital mean. So a card can be seen as a CD because it's digital and music is dead. And then Spotify came, and we all started using completely digital. Many of us were a little bit scared, so we kept copies of music on CDs because, well, you never know. And then as you start using it, who knows where the CDs are? So I think cards is only the first step, and very soon we'll digitize card and we'll just use our phones and our. But that's probably for later. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'd like to ask Manasi. Manasi, your professional background is deeply product focused. In this digital era, how do you think the relationship with the customer has evolved? Meanwhile.
Thank you. Great question. The biggest change I've seen, and it's a great one, is that product management has become customer centric and customer focused. If you think about it, a great product is not just one that is technically feasible and commercially viable. It must be customer desirable. You need to hit the kind of sweet spot of all three things so that people really just want to buy your product. And this is obviously not easy, otherwise everyone would be getting it. But the customer has become now the true north. And this is manifesting itself, in companies by a couple of trends, and I'll highlight some of them. Increasingly, product owners and product managers are being hired in companies because they are the voice of the customer. And it's their job to really understand the customer needs and feed it into the product pipeline. So they kind of own the customer relationship. The second one is that companies are now forming 1:1 relationships with their customers on social media increasingly. So this creates a nice, warm, fuzzy relationship which needs to be nurtured. But also ideally, that kind of feedback should again inform the product development effort. You should be, increasingly being customer-led. The third thing which I have seen is there's this new discipline called CX UX, which is customer experience or user experience. Increasingly, there is a UX designer at the table from the start, understanding how to craft a customer journey right from the point that the customer makes a buying decision. This can be offline, this can be online, but essentially we want to create customer delight. And so the biggest shift I'm seeing, and it's a good one, is that this focus on the customer is now really making people think, how do we really create something which is totally customer focused? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manasi. And Mauro, I'd like to ask you, what is next in the digital payment space? What is your provision?
It's a good question. According to the European Central Bank, the total number of non-cash payments in the euro increased by 8.1% to 998 billion in 2019, compared with the previous year with a total value of 162 trillion of euro. And the card payments account for 48% of the total. So needless to say, Europe has a sophisticated and mature digital payments market, and the traditional cash infrastructure is now witnessing a decline in the bank branch and ATMs, for the demonstration that Europe moved away from cash. In fact, global data has predicted Finland, Sweden, UK are likely to be some of the countries leading the way to a cashless society. On the other side of the world, China is currently the global leader in mobile wallet consumption, with nearly 70% of China's consumers using mobile wallets regularly. The country is projected to generate almost 80% of global mobile wallet revenues in 2021. And with these stats, is also expected that China is a strong contender in the race to a true cashless society. However, South Korea is giving China a run for its money, except the pound, and is predicted to be within the top 3 cashless countries by 2022, with the majority of the infrastructure already in place and more than half of the countries. 1.6 bank branches no longer accepting cash deposit or withdrawals. So this is, I think, is the future area in the social payment, like WeChat, WhatsApp, and Facebook Pay. I think is the close market of the e-digital payment.
Thank you so much, Mara. And Fabrizio, you work very closely with large financial players, but also with dynamic fintech companies. So what do you think is the future of retail banking as an industry given the acceleration in digital?
It's a fascinating moment, because I think at last, finally, also retail banking has come to a revolution, and it's one of the last industries. You know, we've witnesses telecoms, we've witnesses oil and energy, and now we come to retail banking. And Mara, I need to apologize. I know you work for a large bank, and we love large banks. Our clients, and we like to work together. But you know, there's something that's fundamentally changing, and some of the actually big banks are also going there. But if you think about how a retail bank used to be built in the past, we always say it's built like a cathedral. So you start putting the foundations there, so the infrastructure, very big stones at the bottom, and then you start building on top, and you build your products on top, and then finally up there you put your front end, so the customer facing piece. So the cathedral was all built vertically, almost like a monolith. So whenever you need to go and change some of the infrastructure, like in a cathedral, it's not very easy work if you need to go and dig down all the stones that have been there since, forgive me, the Middle Age, right? So there's the complexity. Now, some of the regulations that was put in place recently by European Union, actually, where there's more innovation than in the US right now, is that we're actually splitting those two areas, the infrastructure piece, the product piece, and the distribution. One of the most notable innovation is open banking, where regulators have asked banks who have the direct relationship with public to share their data. So if I'm a customer of a bank and I decide to go and buy some other financial products by a new player, my bank is obliged to give the data to the other player so they can play, the player can play on a level playing field with the other. So we see basically 3 areas that are developing. The infrastructure area, we see some players, they are focusing on infrastructure like thesis and some of the, there's been a big merger now in Italy with SIA. Some of the big players, they are selling infrastructure and services like banking as a service to new players that they don't have the bank behind them, and they can sell treasury, they can sell all they need to become a player. Then we see the specialized product manufacturer, the product factories. And one of the areas where we've seen more traction is the FX market. I'm sure you're all familiar with players like TransferWise, Revolut. We have crashed the market by entering a very narrow vertical where there was a very big advantage because banks were having high fees, and there was an opportunity to go and play there. And then the last mile, which is probably the most important, is the front end, where you serve the customer. And today we're all used to Apple, we're all used to Amazon, so we're used to excellence in customer service 24/7, and that's where many of the traditional banks have failed in new generation. So the insurgence of banks like N26, the same Revolut, but even Apple that is launching their Apple Card, where you just need to click. We try and experiment. Some of my colleagues have tried an experiment in the States, and they started queuing in a supermarket, and they started the process of provisioning the Apple Card, and by the time they got to the till, they were able to pay with a card that was in their phone, and they didn't have it before. So it takes like 6 or 7 minutes to get a card. So the combination of three things, I think, will be very beneficial for the consumer, who will be able to have the best customer service from the best front end, and still benefit of all the products. So in all this, as I said before, MasterCard and many of the other players in the industry are trying to move away from only the card payment, and the payments industry is really transforming into what we call a multi-rail strategy. So it's not only card. Today you can pay with a bank account, you can pay with a number of ways, the one that suits you the best, and still you'll be able to maintain the same channel. So very interesting, very challenging for obviously traditional banks, but I know that, for example, UniCredit is investing in a number of different new technologies, so to compete with the others. So I think it's very welcome for the consumer.
Thank you so much, Fabrizio. It was very interesting. And Manezio, I'd like to hear your opinion on what do you think about the digital revolution in payments and financial services, and where do you see the opportunities?
Thank you. So, I will build on what Fabrizio has said, because he has covered, so he's almost given a masterclass in his last question over there. Digital payments, as we know, has gone through a revolution. There's been a change in, how you pay. You no longer pay with cash and check, you pay by card, mobile, we've talked about it. Where you pay, mobile, you don't have to go to the store. And even when you pay, you don't have to pay when you purchase. You can pay in you can pay in installments. And the number of players, as Fabrizio said, it's no longer the traditional players. It's no longer just the card companies and the banks. Apple, Google, they're all getting into this very exciting world of payments. So it is becoming a multi-rail, multi-product, multi-device future for payments. The areas that I find very interesting is open banking, because I, as a UK customer, actually use it. And again, going back to my theme of customer, open banking with customer consent really allows you to see all your financial, accounts, etc., in one consolidated view, which is really powerful because it puts the customer at the center of their own relationship, which sounds really obvious, but I don't think it's been the case so far. It's like, you have to have one relationship with each of your financial entities. So to see a consolidated view gives the customer a whole lot more control and a whole lot more confidence. And again, related to open banking, there is a push payments capability which comes with open banking, which allows you to pay, account to account, which means, again, back to Fabrizio's point, you don't have to use card rails, you use bank account rails. So all this is all coming together to be quite disruptive. And personally, for me, in terms of opportunity, all of us know there's been, a lot of fintech innovation, but it's been largely in the area of either B2C, the millennials who are very digitally native. I'd love to see more action in the Gen X. The Gen X, of course, are older than the digitally native people, but they're also more financially mature. They tend to have pensions, they tend to have a mortgage, more bank accounts, and it would be great to see how there could be more done for this, shall I say, underserved segment. And on the same lines, I feel SME is also emerging as a nice opportunity. SME has been known to be quite underbanked, but now fintechs are paying attention to their needs because, you know, SMEs need access to better credit, faster credit. So all these are opportunities which are emerging, and I think it's going to be a very exciting time for us.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to finish this with last question. Actually, we are running out of time, so I'd like to hear very short about this. And I'd like to address to Fabrizio. Fabrizio, in the past 12 months of lockdown, we witnessed an incredible acceleration in digital channels and digital payments. So do you think this trend is going to continue after the pandemic as well?
Listen, in the past, whenever there was a big shift in technology, was because people found it useful and necessary. So, you know, product managers like us can design a number of products, but if consumers don't find it useful, there's no tipping point. And if I look back and you know a couple of big breakthrough, you know, contactless, you know, I think Mazi, you also live in London. The moment where contactless really took up when we were able to use it on the underground and the tube, right? It's great to tap at the shop, but you don't really need it. When you tap at the underground and you start going and you see the queues decreasing, then when you start to, so that's the tipping point. Same for a card on file, right? When Netflix and Uber started to be there, then you really see why you need to put your card on file. So I sometimes get out to the taxi, normal taxi, the few times that I take it without paying, and they shout at me because I think that I've just paid with my card on file. So the need for digital, I think, in the pandemic has been very, very obvious by, as I said, many of the other generations. So I think this will give us a boost, and there's some research that say we've accelerated by 5 years in 5 months, and seeing the data, that's for sure. So I think, you know, we don't have any crystal ball, but I think by giving access to people who have never really done it before and showing them how useful it is, we'll certainly see a big shift. And, you know, for stock price of some of the digital players like Amazon and Shopify, I think speak for itself.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yes, thank you for all of you for joining. It was very interesting, and hope our audience educated themselves and they just knew about the new trends and what's going on in the industry. And as we see, the situations led companies to bring new innovations in their companies, and the payment companies was playing very big role on this. Thank you so much for joining again, and hope you have a great time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.